Calling all card fighters. We welcome you to the Dojo, a Card Fighters podcast, starting now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt, second member of Team Eclipse, and I have my teammate here.
So my name is Ryan Velasquez, and yeah.
It's nice to meet everyone. Naru, he let me borrow the keys to the dojo. He stepped out for a little bit. Had to fight the team's crippling addiction to Applebee's.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Those half-off appetizers really just do it to them, man, you know?
Not sponsored, but, thank you, Naru. Good luck out there. Ryan, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Ryan, and I've been playing card fights since since V just started. You know, back when OTT was the best deck in the format.
Yes, sir.
That was gross. They just deer you, and then you said, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm dead." Woo!
Fun and interactive. Oh man, I really do. Kind of.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, you're right.
No, you don't. No, you.
Oh God, the deer. Like everyone just hated that, but hey.
I used to still top with Granblue back in the day.
Oh God. Yep, and that's one of the big things here that we're here today is we are technically the captains for the team when it comes to Megalonica. We got Granblue over here and Aquaforce on this side, so really do appreciate that. So going in today talking about what we expect to happen in Georgia, looking at like possible tops. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts of what might be coming up?
Well, I think especially if we look at kind of like what's been going around now, there are kind of clans that everyone's looking at. You have OrderColony, you have Pale Moon, you have probably some Granblue. You probably have, you got your Naru Kami, you got your rogue stuff, you got like Regalia, you've got probably Aquaforce as well. You'll see some stuff up there.
Yeah,
sure.
And I do like how now, especially like we do have more like diverse clans, especially like now back in the ye olden days of the loop decks, it was like 3 or 4 clans that were all being used.
There were the loop decks, and there were the ones with denial griffins to stop the loop decks.
Yeah, it was just that, but now like we have a really good variety going on, and I really, really do like that, especially now with Card Fight where it's going. So big elephant in the room. Everyone's talking about it. OrderColony.
Yep.
Yeah.
The deck that probably was not intended to work the way it is and is working the way it is.
Yeah, it is working flawlessly almost. Like every top up to this point so far has, for the teams especially, has at least one player in top 4 that's played this. But most recently, the top 4 teams all had someone playing OrderColony.
Yeah, it turns out OrderColony's kind of strong.
Yeah. Deck is kind of good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So as someone, especially that plays the 2 decks that, people are talking about has the worst matchup against OrderColony, both Granblue and Pale Moon, like what are like some of the things that you go into that match like pretty much knowing?
The biggest problem, I think, with Granblue is that once you guys flip over your Vanguards and then one of them is Granblue and one of them is Megas, you kind of just have to, like, as the Granblue player, you look at your opponent and you shake their hand. I mean, like, your deck's shut off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's not like absolutely impossible, but my gosh, it is the most uphill thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we did like talk about it the last time I was here for Granblue because I play that as well. So what are your thoughts when you go into it with Pale Moon? We really didn't discuss that too much.
Okay, so Pale Moon, and we're talking specifically about Nightmare Dolls. So Nightmare Dolls, if it goes first, it wins. So I understand that, they stop you from calling and you're a little. The thing with Nightmare Dolls is they have this really funny play where they go into grade 3 and then they go into grade 2. And all of a sudden the grade 2 game is not a grade 2 game. It's a grade 3 game.
Yeah.
And you still don't get first stride. So you are bullying them constantly. They have to ride up. They get their book Sure, and then you stride, and then they are at the mercy of their defensive triggers, because if they don't hit good ones, they kind of just die. You don't really live Leslie loops.
Yeah, Leslie loop is like probably one of the ones from the loop era that has stayed. But it's not.
Well, I mean, it's not a true loop. It's just like, it'll happen and then it'll happen.
Yeah, looking at Leslie loop versus what used to be like Fenrir loop. Oh, no.
I mean, Fenrir loop just killed you.
Exactly.
The thing with Leslie is that you can still kind of technically limit it, because, you don't give it super counterblast and they're not like looping you. But
yeah,
it is like
gonna
a thing.
Stop.
Event. But the thing is like if you give them first stride, they can either like straight just win the game, or they put you to 5, and all of a sudden, even if it's a bad matchup, you're at 5.
Yeah, and you would just have 5 counterblasts. And I feel the same way with Aquas, where you talked about going to 3 and then back down, because we can do that with Lambros. Because Lambros, it's a superior ride. It's not a stride. So we can soul blast out our 3, and now we're back on a 2. So we have that same little play that we can do. But now stepping away from Pale Moon, I know that we have like a lot of variety going on with the meta now. How do you think, just as a quick step, a rogue deck? What deck would it be like that could pop up suddenly that outpaces what everyone's looking at right now? Just off like top of your head type thing.
So the only decks that you could really consider rogue decks are decks that have strategies that don't necessarily care about your opponent's strategy, correct?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like a rogue deck, you have to have like this idea that, hey, I can't outright necessarily like beat, but I can play around or counter kind of like the top dog. So when you think of a rogue deck, I would think it maybe like DP, because DP can kind of just do their thing, and then they'll hit you in the face, and guess what? You got caught without a PG, and they're going to swing for 17 damage.
Yeah, and even with PGs, right, they still have their old mechanic of burst. So, you have to put down like 2 or 3 at a time.
So, we're not talking about that one in particular, but like as an example, you just have to like realize that sometimes in Vanguard, you could be playing the best deck in the game and still get just cheesed.
Yeah, because like there are these decks that like they don't really care about your strategy. They like maximize their own in a sense. Yeah.
So, I mean, another deck that comes to mind is like what? Gold Paladin? Are you at grade 1? Cool, I'm at grade 4.
Yep, with the Azul Superior Ride.
So, I mean, and they'll bully you until you get to grade 3, and then you can finally do your thing, but they already have like 2 turns of setup, and they already kind of like have like a decent matchup in that sense, where they don't care about your strategy because they're going to high roll you, or they're just going to lose at that point.
Yeah. And now going back to like more of the meta topics, one big one that everyone is also kind of looking at, not as much now that OrderColony kind of just popped into existence, right, is Granblue. And I wanted to get your thoughts, especially with your experiences with the clan and the deck. How do you feel about Granblue going into these tournaments right now, especially looking at the results it has?
So Granblue is in quite the interesting spot, I would say, because you are an extremely strong deck with a lot of answers to a lot of different things. As a sort of combo-y toolbox deck that it is, your whole thing is that you're going to set up, you're going to play some defense, and then you're going to go for your combo. That's kind of like how the deck's either been played for the most part. Like, sure, there are the decks that like want to turbo out with like, I don't know, Skeleton Cannoneer, or not Cannoneer, Skeleton Navigator.
Yep.
But for the most part, they all kind of share that setup into kill turn thing. It's always been like that, even before like the Break Ride combo. There was like the Megiddo turn. You put your full skulls, and then they either lived or they didn't.
Yeah.
But as of right now, a lot of the decks in the meta are kind of they put it in a bad spot. Pale Moon, that matchup is awful for Granblue.
I did notice that while I was playtesting Granblue into that matchup as well, where it's just like the Granblue player has to think, okay, do I give them first stride or do I don't?
Oh,
Either
no,
way, it's
they're
bad.
going to get first stride. They're going to get first stride.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's what also like I noticed is like, either scenario is bad.
Yeah. It's just really tough. And then because besides that, you have OrderColony, and OrderColony is even worse because they stop you from doing everything because you're all from the drop. And
Just
guess what? They
Redora.
say don't do anything unless it's from your hand, and you never want to play with your hand ever.
Yep, and Gradora is just she's been here for years now, and she stops Granblue. She's always done it, and now she has a key piece that lets her work, which is good. My thing with OrderColony is I want to at least let it have its ride through, because Mega Colony as a clan, no one's really looked at it, so it's nice to see it got its time. Now, with your experience with it, do you see it getting hit?
So the problem I would say is that since we're talking about kind of Granblue, I guess. The thing with Granblue is that it, as a toolbox deck, who can afford to run like one-ofs and tech like options and stuff that. It's one of those decks where everyone can have their own list and top. Like almost, there are so many Granblue lists out there, and they're all technically correct.
Yeah, I've talked about that with other Granblue players as well.
But the thing is like the problem is that you either hit it in a non-meaningful way, and the deck kind of just works the same, or you hit it way too hard. Like that's like the problem with at least right now, because what are some of the hits that we can talk about? You can talk about maybe hitting Skull. There goes every single bit of their pressure. That's gone. Yeah.
One thing that I have thought about, especially with talking to other people that have played the deck just personally at Kingslayer, is some of us don't run the break ride, but when Granblue is brought up as a problem, the first thought that people have is the break ride. So if they say, "Yep, no more break ride, can't use that in the deck," what would you think about that?
Again, that's not meaningful enough, because there are plenty of lists that are going right now that are not running it. That's like, okay, cool. That's just like that. Hitting that would just stunt some people's lists, because some people like to just play their defense style and then hit that last combo and go. Yeah. Other people like to rush and create pressure the entire time, and then it doesn't matter. They're not going to get to that point anyway. So that's one of those things where it's like, cool, you hit it anyway.
Yeah, anyway, moving on, like it just doesn't even have that.
Like it's a strong combo for sure, but it's one of those things where it's like you have to set up for that. So if you think the matchup is going to go to that point already, then it might even be kind of a win more card, because it's like, yeah, you get a big combo, but you can kind of already do it.
Yeah, like you can already do it like that. And like, especially with teching these one-ofs like this that it can do, the newest addition to Granblue, leading into Sleeve Tugging Bell, which, helped Granblue pretty much fix its whole problem with Narukamis as a whole. So with that fix, right, to where now Granblue just says, oh, Narukamis, we got Sleeve Tugging Bell, GG. How do you personally, playing both Granblue and Pale Moon, feel about Narus? And I know this is going to be a fun one for you. You've been waiting for this one. Okay. I know we've talked about it.
My thing is that this card was not a card that was even really meant to be functioning the way that it was. And
absolutely.
So the problem with cards that end up giving people another function that maybe was kind of unintentional, Sleeve Tugging Bell is a bit of an exception, because back in the day, it was almost the same as OrderColony. If Granblue flipped its starter and saw that its opponent was Narukami, you shake their hand. You're not doing anything in that matchup. So Sleeve Tugging Bell was one of those cards where it's like, it probably didn't mean to completely cuck the deck, but it was definitely intentional in the way that it was worded, because it said, take your bind zone, put it into the drop.
Yeah.
So that card was like, all right, we want this deck to not completely lose the matchup 100%, one-sided. GG, you saw my starter, shake my hand.
Yeah.
But
yep.
What I will say is that the matchup is not okay. People will probably have different opinions on this, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely.
But the card in and of itself is not like necessarily as polarizing as people like really want it to be.
Yeah.
Because Naru's like the way that they play is kind of like a control-y aggro deck, right? So when they go to like do their whole Stunverse thing, and they go and they start bopping things, and the thing is that you're benefiting from that already. Like you have like your cards in drop, you have your plus whatever to the front board, you have your multi-attack. So it's not like, you're not getting that because I unbound your cards, right? You're still doing it, and you still have that interceptor that just pops my piece, right?
Right.
So while your numbers aren't getting absolutely astronomically big as an Excel deck for some freaking reason. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, no. Until we got Vowing Sword, which does fix their number problem. But my thing with Sleep Tugging Bell, right, is now in the Naru matchup specifically, right? Stunverse now ends up helping the Granblue lists that don't run these one-ofs, right? So, like, my version of Granblue, like you've seen, it plays more of, like, a consistent, like, instead of one-ofs, I'm running two-ofs, right? So when Stunverse hits those those two-ofs that I know are still in my deck, I now will search them out just to fill my drop. So, like, now we basically have, like, my opponent is now a tutor aspect for Granblue, and it's all because of, like, Sleeve Tugging Bell. So, like, I know, like, a lot of people want, like, a choice restriction. What I wish that Sleeve Tugging Bell had instead of that, right? Give it a cost, a Soul Blast, a Counter Blast, something like that. Like, even in Counter Blast aspect, right? We have Grenache. Countercharge 2-man. Been had them for years. Counterblast is nothing for us, right? But because the card doesn't have a cost, it's like so bad for Naru.
Well, okay, but here's the thing, right? You can while maybe like for the sake of my argument, we'll give that to you, right?
Right.
Cool. Now, because of Narukami clan existing, I have to, as a Granblue player, realize that it is one of my worst matchups if I don't run this card, right? So in my list, I have to 100%, because Narukami is very prevalent right now.
Absolutely.
If I don't have the card in my list, I will auto lose if I run into them, right?
Yeah.
So you can say like, oh, it needs a cost and stuff like that. The cost is that I have to run a card that is a actual dead card in every other matchup, because this matchup is so bad that I have to tech it in there.
Yeah.
So I would say that like it's a card that was made in Overdress to help, Zorga.
Zorga, yeah.
Right. So because of that, we get to benefit from it in the matchup that we used to auto lose to. But I would say that the cost of I have to run this completely dead card in the other 23 clan matchups because the 24th one is this bad, I think is cost enough, personally.
Yeah. And, I do accept that because, like, I have in my own playing of the deck, like, I'll just pitch the card if I'm not playing Narukami. So, yeah, I do see that side of it. So looking at some of the other clans, like Red, more so, right? How do you feel about like other Reds? Do like other Red clans have a good chance going into Georgia and possibly topping, like out of the rest? Like we know Naru's is good.
Naru's good, yeah.
What are some other Red clans that you think would be solid topping?
Okay, so especially for Georgia, since Tachi's has actually been kind of a strong clan.
I've seen that recently.
Yeah. So I think it's one of the sleeper ones because personally, I think that Tachi's is a bit harder to play than normal, Red clans.
It does require some more thought.
Because, you could play your classic Kagura swing 3 times GG, but then you compare that to like Naru's or even Tachi's, because you can compare Naru's and Kagura, but then you compare it to Tachi's and Tachi's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because it's actually got like an extra depth when you're managing gauges and you're managing, going against clans that don't necessarily can have ways to deal with things other than like the ones who can afford to run Hanali, right?
Yeah.
But
like those ones like Granblue is one. There are a few others that can run Hanali, yeah, in that instance. And you are right. Like they're like looking at it, right? There are not a lot of clans that can kind of deal with the gauges, especially Sweeper Recanto.
Yeah.
Now that Tachi's has that grade 1 that's like, oh, look at me. I can call a card from my hand, give it a gauge. Turn 1. So turn 1, Sweeper Recanto, give it a gauge. It swings if they go second, right? They want to go second in this case. Swing Sweeper Recanto, on attack, give it another gauge. Next turn, Sweeper Recanto has its third gauge, which now means it has resist. That is big for the deck.
Yeah, I mean the card is just very strong, and it was when it first came out, and it is in premium. But another thing about Sweeper that people I don't think kind of maybe overlook is that yes, it's a big rear and you can't target it, but it also kind of acts as like a supply box for the deck. Because remember, when you're playing Tachis, you need to kind of like kill things off and pay with gauges. For example, what's the stride called again?
There's like 3 of them.
Like the main one that they go into that's like you need to pay like 5 gauge.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The name eludes me at this moment because I haven't looked too much at Tachis, but yeah, I remember that one where it's like pay 5 gauges and they'll just take 5 off of the
they
15.
Can. So apologize for not knowing the name,
yeah,
but
all you Tachi players, like but don't hang us.
But that card kind of allows them to just have like a big thing where they can store them, swing big, and then cool, they have an easy way to pay because they never have to like necessarily pay with like rear guards that they don't want to, because like they can pick the ones they do, and then they can get the rest from Sweeper.
Yeah.
So the deck becomes very like strong in that sense, and I think that it can pull some wins, especially like in NA as a region, because NA plays different.
Yeah, especially, and that's what I really like about it. Now, one that I've recently looked at, especially after like a recent trip to Kingslayer, shout out to my boy Taco and also to Naru, Nubatama.
Yep.
Now that they've gotten Magatsu Reverse, that deck just shot up for whatever reason, and it's so crazy.
It's funny. Nubatama is actually still a solid deck, and I think it's actually slept on. But the thing about Magatsu Reverse is that I don't really think it's the best version of Nubatama. It could be, and maybe my opinion is just wrong. But when you talk about like Nubatama, like you want to talk about like what it does into the decks that it counts, right?
Right.
So like when you're talking about decks with Nubatama, Daihosen, that Daihosen, you know what it does to Pale Moon and Granblue too? Oh. Cool. Did you superior call? Discard. Did you call again? Discard. And all of a sudden,
oh God, it's so bad.
So like the clan just has ways of like that. Nubatama, I would say, is peak rogue deck. Like when you think of a rogue deck, Nubatama is kind of like the epitome of what a rogue deck kind of like wants to do.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed about Nubas when I was, playing against it. Is like I've seen both those versions of the deck. One of which being, Taco's list with Magatsu's Reverse, and then another friend of mine from West Palm. He actually played Daihosen, and I played Granblue, and I was like, this is terrible. Going in like bad bountying, but he's on Daihosen. I'm trying to superior call Dragon like at least 2 or 3, possibly 4 times. Each one of these times I got a big hand, like 10 cards in my hand, and I'm just like, every time I call this thing, I gotta like discard it. In the back of my mind, I'm just like, if he hits his over, like GG.
It's over.
Yeah, like it's over. So yeah, I think that going into Georgia, really look at Nubatama, because that clan could very well be the rogue. Like I 110% agree with that. One of the other ones that kind of like breaks my heart, it really does, because like this is my red clan, Murakumo. It's off. It's like, what do we have?
So
like, what do we?
Believe it or not,
right?
Murrah's actually has a really decent matchup into OrderColony in particular.
I noticed.
So
it's so funny.
So it's funny because I actually sorry, spoiler alert. I dislike Dragon Empire. I'm sorry. I'm
know
sorry,
you do.
Don't hate me, but in particular, Shirayuki. I have considered building a Shirayuki deck because I like not only the card art, but the way that deck plays.
Yes.
And that would be my exception to Dragon Empire. But their thing is that they multi-attack without multi-calling, which means that all of a sudden this super, oppressive deck is like, I don't give a frick.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna live my life.
I'll neg you
my best life.
I might be swinging for 12, but you're at negative 20, so
Yeah, right. Like what? Then that's what I noticed when I was playing because I have Shirayuki. You can borrow it.
I would love to borrow it.
You're on my team. I got you.
I would love to borrow it.
Homie, you come on. You have a brother up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, I was playing Shirayuki into OrderColony, and I noticed it. One of the funniest things that I noticed was when they rested Shirayuki grade 3. I was like, wait a minute, they didn't retire it, so I can still get the Counterblast 1, minus 10 off, and that's what really like sealed the deal, and that's what made me just laugh in the shop was when that realization came to my mind.
Well, another funny thing is I don't remember exactly what it's called. Apologies. But they have a stride that allows you to kind of copy Shirayuki, and then it allows you to swing from the back row.
That is also a Shirayuki
So
stride.
all of a sudden you're swinging with all these cards and continuing with your back row. And sure, they're only attacking for 12, but you're at negative 20, maybe even negative 30.
Yep.
And did you not let that hit? Ooh, benefit. Now you're at negative 30. Now you're at negative 40. And all of a sudden there's numbers that are like little 12Ks or, actually 50K guard for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and that's what I noticed in my playtest.
So when you have these kind of really strange off decks that kind of show up like this, they actually have good matchups into some of the meta because they don't necessarily care about your strategy.
No, they don't.
They are going to do their thing, and their thing is good enough that unless you are decks like Mega Colony or even Granblue,
or
who has these kind of really good defensive capabilities, you're kind of just going to get shafted. You're going to get ran over. They're going to look at you with no remorse, and they're going to keep going.
Yep, they're going to laugh at you.
They're going to shake your hand, say GG's, they didn't just cheese you, and then they're going to...
You want to know what's one of the funniest plays that I did? So I actually had the re-ride for Shirayuki. So I re-rode the original Shirayuki for V that came out, Soul Blasted 2, minus 10 to my opponent, right? Strode into the stride that you just mentioned that allows them to swing from back row. And I did have the GB3 that I needed, right? But fun fact, Counterblast 1, you flip up a Shirayuki, or flip up a card in your G-Zone. Look at how many Shirayukis that you have in the G-Zone face up, and minus 5, your opponent's Vanguard. I only had 2, right? At the time, because I had to G-Guard, but that doesn't have a Shirayuki name. So that's another minus 10. So my opponent went from 12 to 2 to now negative 8. And that's before I swung, before any other effects from any other Shirayukis, and I had 5 Shirayukis in my hand, and there's a grade 1 for Murakumo's because Murakumo likes to care about names that I called that then also gave the Shirayuki name. So this 7K attacker with the Shirayuki name swung from back row to negative 8. That was 20K shield? Just off of a 7K. So that is another road deck to look out. Now, one kind of nation almost that almost disappeared. United Sanctuary. Yeah. Come on, what's going on, guys? To my United Sanctuary brothers, I apologize for my tone, but come on, we got to work on this.
So I think when it comes to that nation, rather, what do we got? We got Gold Paladin, who's been a menace since forever,
right?
And then you got Luard, that is kind of still a menace, to be honest.
Yeah, he's still meta relevant. There are consistent tops. with him. I think I've seen like 1 to 3 recently that have topped with Luard. I don't know like the exact specifics.
Yeah, Luard kind of just goes in, grabs a win, and leaves.
Yeah, like the thing about that I liked about Luard was like if you bought the trial deck back when he first came out and kept it,
You had a meta deck ever since you bought that trial deck.
Bought the trial deck, like it's just been meta relevant ever since. Other shadow decks kind of right now. Like Revengers is good. Like Revengers, but see, like they kind of end up getting shafted to decks that have a Denial Griffin effect because like they have to like retire the rears. So anything like that, good luck. Where my heart kind of just shatters into pieces, Royals. But
hey, you have Jewel Knights.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
You have Jewel
We have Jewel Knights now, so Jewel Knights. Come on, guys, just a couple more tops, please. Come on.
Do you even own Jewel Knights?
I do not.
Okay, then.
I like to see my OG clan succeed, right?
I'm
the guy with the banner, with the Royal Paladin banner. Like, come on, guys, we got this. Come on, like pretty much the cheerleader for Royals. Come on, we got this.
Okay.
Genesis
Can die in a fire. Genesis has been a cancer problem since forever. They have had so many loops,
I feel like
so many breaking game things. Why does it keep getting them? You had Wiseman loop, you had Fenrir loop, you had Valkyrian loop, and now you have Regalia. Why? Why?
I mean, okay, but like the thing about Regalia, right, is like if your opponent is smart, right, and realizes that the units don't have resist when you stride into Minerva and they just blow up Norn, right? They just kind of
one of the 3 that they have in the back row.
Okay, but like,
come on. Oh, wow. Let me just use all my resources to blow one of them up. Oh, now I only have to deal with 4 more attacks that are like 70K and 2 crit.
Like only 2. Come on. Anyway,
I
know I'm
with
missing.
a resetting Vanguard that doesn't lose drive checks.
I mean, they do lose drive checks.
1.
And then 3.
That's after the, 3rd restand?
So they swing 4, stand 3, stand 0.
Wow. You have lost 3 after getting 7. Fair.
I feel like there's a little pent of aggression.
I have had to deal with the loops for 7 trillion years, okay? Why do they keep getting loops? Why?
Because like they see into the future.
I don't know if this was just a joke, but I heard that the new stride introduces another loop.
Oh no. Oh God. Let's pray. Okay. Bow heads and pray that this does not happen because we don't need another Genesis loop. Amen. Okay, moving forward. OTT. OTT is actually kind of good.
Yeah, they swing and you die.
Yeah, essentially. We have Momo, which is great, and Ichitam is still living, eating good, but problem, OrderColony can still rest Tom, so that's kind of...
Why does OrderColony have Brilliant Blister?
Right, like...
Why?
When that happened to me, I was just like, God, I don't like it here. But anyway.
We hate it here.
Yeah, we hate it here. I want to get like a shirt that says that because I say that so much.
I thought that was my idea. I was the one who told you to get that shirt.
I think, yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
Yep,
you're right. You gotta take credit from me. How dare you?
Anyway. Oh, man. I feel like I'm missing one for United Sanctuary, Royal Shadows Golds, Genesis OTT. Why do I feel like I'm missing one?
We don't talk about Angel Feather.
That's right. We don't talk about Angel Feather.
That you know why you forgot about it? That's how bad it is.
That's how bad it is. That is actually how bad it is.
There are only 2 clans in this entire premium format that I tell you that if you're going in with, don't. There is Angels and the one that breaks my heart.
Don't say it, please.
If you go in with Neos, you're throwing. It makes me so sad.
It makes me so sad too. We love Neos and like, but Zoo
me and you are like the 2 like surviving Neo players, and then there are like the other ones that like kind of have the clan but don't participate.
Yeah, it just breaks our heart. But like Zoo as a nation is actually relatively good because like Mega Colony, we don't need to go on to that, but Great Nature.
Great Nature is good.
Great Nature is really good, and I've seen you use that deck as well.
I do play my fair share of Big Belly. That deck is very fun. And
Hey,
Rhino go burr. Rhino go burr.
Rhino does go burr. Rhino is actually really, really good and has like, I love how each stride is like its own different version of a problem. That like, it's like, oh, what are they going to go into? Like, are they just going to draw a bunch of cards? Okay, that's a problem.
No, you never have to worry about them drawing cards. They're always going to draw cards.
Yeah, right. But then it's like, are they going to draw cards on top of them drawing more cards?
Shoot. Did my opponent go from a 5 to a 20 card hand? How did that happen?
Yeah, like, but then like your thought process then goes, oh, wait, we can deck them out. And then you remember, Psych, the Progenitor Dragon, puts the drop zone back into the deck. Who thought of this?
Megaloma is an interesting card, but Megaloma's good.
Yeah, Megaloma's really good. And then like, if the Great Nature player is feeling a little frisky, right, they then get to go into Zoa.
What do you mean a little frisky? They are feeling it, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
They have their Monoculus. They have their Rhino. All right. GG.
Zoa, swing. If this unit hits you, you lose. You don't take damage. You lose. Yeah, it's actually
shake my hand, opponent.
Shake my hand, sign the slip. We're done. Moving on. And this is in best of ones, right? So like for a card to just say you lose, over trigger does not save you, by the way. Over trigger does not help.
No. It hit.
Yeah, it hit, so you lose.
You know what's another funny thing? I found out that, you know how like in this recent set, there are a whole bunch of like G guards that like minus crit?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It hit.
It hit, so you lose.
You didn't even take damage. It hit. You said no guard.
Yep.
GG.
You got it. Moving forward. And like Zoo, so like 2 of the 3 out of Zoo that we have seen will be fine. An interesting pick that I've seen is in Dark States, and that's Spikes.
Oh, are we talking about Rising Greedon? Yo, okay.
Okay.
Now hold on.
That? Who did?
Bro,
why?
Rising Greedon is that deck that I never play but will always root for, and I have no idea why, but it's like so fun. It is
Greedon? So like who thought, right, to put Rising Nova and Greedon together? Like it's a match made in heaven, right? Because Spikes will just superior call a bunch of stuff like mid battle, and then Greedon's effect is not once a turn.
OrderColony tells it to stop. So
yeah, I mean,
you know, R.I.P. Greedon.
Yeah, R.I.P. Greedon. Like, but you know, like who thought of it? Why did you think of this? Who hurt you? But also,
who hurt you?
But also, you the homie because you putting us on the map. So I appreciate you. Now, one that's kind of stayed for Dark State / Dark Zone, however you're feeling, is DI.
Represent my boys in the dark irregular realm.
Oh my God, we are rooting for you because we both play DI. Our builds are different. You actually do the more competitive version.
Yeah,
which is okay. I am just
the card that has been literally carrying the deck on its back since day one.
Preach. You right. Shaharot is mine. I'm just a Shaharot simp. Gosh, that's about it.
SMH, my head.
SMH, bro. SMH. But I love him. And then Gear Chronicle. I honestly think Gear Chronicle is like an interesting pick, and we should keep an eye out for it simply because of that recent top of Chrono Tiger.
Bro, how did that man top? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how that actually happened.
Like, you let Chrono Tiger... It wasn't even Chrono Jet.
The thing is like, I think Chrono Tiger in like a vacuum is a good card.
Yes.
But why? How? What? How did... I would have to look at that list again because that's wild.
Like if somebody told me, right, like if Chrono Jet got it, right, like I wouldn't be surprised. Like Chrono Jet gives himself 5K, you go off of next stage, like he gets another 15, so he's plus 20, and he naturally says when he swings you can't PG him, you can't use Sentinels. So I'm like, okay, if that's gonna happen, then great, I can prepare for this. But like Chrono Tiger negs his hand to go into Rebellion, to get the full rebellion effect, you have to be out one card. One card. How?
You know what's funny? I've actually seen people G-assist in that deck on purpose.
I have to. Like purposefully.
In a deck that wants to G-assist kind of upsets me actually.
Yeah.
Why?
Like actually, and it works. Like that's the sad part is like it works. Right? Now, one of the last ones that we're missing, to go back to Megalonica, because I know like Granblue, Aquaforce.
Bermuda, baby. That deck is broken. Woo! Shout out to Jonathan Owens for breaking entire deck.
Broken Bermuda.
Yeah.
Hashtag Broken Bermuda.
Ben Coutier.
No. I do not.
Oh no, I just wanted to say that to upset people.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't think it should be banned. I'm
okay. Like you heard it here. He's good. It's fine.
I'm joking.
But for a deck that runs more one-ofs
than Granblue,
like bro, that deck is 2 Aqua, 2 Coutier. The rest of the deck is one-ofs.
Except for triggers. Like
triggers, they can be the same. And it just goes off.
You know, it's just really, really dumb, I think, that when you play a turn and your opponent goes, hey, how many cards in hand? And you look at your hand, you're just like, 18. What?
Like, bruh.
Not to mention, they have a great matchup into OrderColony because turns out bouncing and calling from hand is calling from hand.
Oh, yeah, Ange. And it's like, oh, the deck is one-ofs. Like, they have to see the grade 3 Ange. Please remember that there's also a grade 4 Ange that's in the G zone. And all they have to do is ride one of their, like,
man, they play Ulk, bro. They play Ulk, and then they play Ulk. And then sometimes they go into, Shandy, and then they Ulk again.
Yeah, like, oh, look at that. They restand by going back to hand. Like, literally, you have to stop Bermuda by going into the other strat that they have. That's like, what? You can't call, period.
And here's another thing, right? So let's say, well, okay, you're never not going to have a grade 3, so you'll always have a grade 3 to ride. So, like, let's say you're going against Gridora. So, they Gridoraed you. You ride your grade 3 because you're always going to have it. And then you play down your Aqua. You bounce a rested unit to hand. And then you play Coutier. You search something. You bounce something back to hand. Oh, hey, look, a rested unit. Bounce it back to hand. Oh, wait a minute. My board is standing again. How did this happen?
Yeah.
Also, Pearl Sisters.
The best one-ups in the deck. Anthem each other, so they get power. They get an extra crit.
Cross turn, by the way. Cross turn.
Yeah, cross turn. So,
they're like 28K base?
Yeah.
Cross
they
turn?
match each other.
Mm-hmm.
Front row units, get an extra crit. And depending on what stride you want to go into, depending on what flavor you're feeling at the time, you can bounce them back to hand, call them again as stand, or just restand them.
Yeah.
I mean, and, Broken Bermuda, be Broken Bermuda.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's not choice.
Yeah.
It's not choice.
It's not by choice.
No, it's not choice.
Oh, you right? Yeah. This man. You can run stands.
Yeah, you can
if
run
you
stands.
feel like it.
I mean, you don't feel like it.
You don't.
Crits. But I'm just saying, remember choice?
I think so.
It was when you superior strode in Bermuda. In Bermuda.
Oh, God. Riviere. God, that deck. Both in V and in Premium.
Menace.
Absolute
menaces.
The what was it? Errata? Yeah.
They errated V Riviere, yes.
Needed to happen. You can.
Nah, that didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
As a V Riviere player, that didn't need to happen. Yeah, I said it. You hit one defensive trigger and your turn's off. I needed to attack more times. I stand by it.
You stand by it.
I stand by it.
Are you proud of yourself?
I will die on this hill.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. As long as you are that confident, then by all means. Okay?
Hey, if you hit a defense trigger and my turn's off, come on, man. Let me attack more times.
Yeah. That doesn't need to happen. Now, you can stay in your lonely corner.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Naru, we appreciate you giving us the keys. Really do. Dojo was fun. Great having you here, Ryan. Any remarks you have for the people?
Thanks for having me on. I know I have a lot of hot takes. You guys are free to make fun of me. I get it. It's totally fine.
No. Just leave a comment.
A mean comment. Tell me how wrong I am.
Or right. Because there are some, like, you just kind of, like, turn your head and go, like, oh.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Now, announcement that as a stipulation of me getting the key to the dojo, Naru wanted us to let you know that he is coming back to Twitch to do remote fights. So look out for those. More YouTube videos are coming, both for Team Eclipse and for Naru himself. So just keep an eye out for those. I don't have a schedule yet, but more is on the way. Okay. And we're going to be looking forward to some more team members coming, just like Ryan, myself, Anderson, and Nick, who you've all seen. And so, yeah, more stuff coming in the future. To everyone that goes up into Georgia, you have our best wishes, especially to our team members. A little bias.
We got a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. We want our team to, sweep.
Just take everything that we said here
Yeah.
about the decks that you should expect, or maybe if you're not, just like you have a little bit of knowledge on them. Don't let a deck that you don't know what they're doing come up and slip you up. Okay, just don't do that.
Exactly. Now, to everyone who came in, stopped by, we appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. Naru wanted me to say thank you for watching, and this has been The Dojo. Myself, Matthew. Ryan.
I'm Ryan.
We're signing off.
You guys have a pleasant evening.
Morning, afternoon.
Wherever.
And have a fantastic rest of your day. All right? Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for watching The Dojo. If you would like to see more card fight content like this, make sure to catch The Dojo and Naru Samurai on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Spotify, and Apple Podcast.